I am here. Today, we are gonna talk about a thriller, action, movie named Lucifer.
At Interpol's office in Lyon, an officer examines reports on Khurshi Abram, a mysterious international criminal suspected of operating a diamond-gold nexus. A rear image of a person taken in Istanbul accompanies the report. Speaking on a secure phone line, the officer states, "It's Khurshi Abram." Meanwhile, in Kerala, Chief Minister P.K. Ramdas, leader of the IUF, dies in a hospital, owned by the daughter of opposition leader Medayal Rajan. This causes a riot outside the hospital, an opportunity taken by acting CM Mahesh Verma by manipulating the public sentiment. Officer Mayul Vahanam and Murugan are seen as aid for Verma. Govardhan, a fearless truth seeker, records a Facebook live stream condemning the glorification of PKR, revealing that he was merely a puppet of a powerful syndicate that controls the Indian political system. He states that the IUF's wealth is double that of the state treasury and emphasizes the critical importance of PKR's successor. He lists 5 potential candidates: Priyadarshini Ramdas, Jathin Ramdas, Bimal Nair, Verma, and Stephen Nedumpally. Priya, PKR's daughter, has a college-aged daughter, Janvi, from her late husband Jayad Heaven, who died in a car accident in Dubai. She is now married to Bobby. Bobby, a secretive and notorious drug dealer involved in real estate and hawala scams. Unknown to Priya, he is deeply connected with Mumbai's drug lords. Jathin, PKR's son, resides in the US with little known about his activities. Verma, due to his seniority and lobbying power, declares himself the most suitable successor, as he is really good at handling any opposing and supporting parties. The most enigmatic candidate is Stephen Nedumpally, a man introduced by PKR 6 years ago. Govardhan describes him as both Kerala's savior and its greatest threat, dubbing him Lucifer. Stephen's past remains a mystery, but he is known for his involvement in post-war reconstruction in Iraq and Afghanistan, along with gold smuggling from Dubai to Kerala. Govardhan questions why PKR trusted Stephen so much, even vacating his own assembly seat for him. Meanwhile, in Mumbai, Bobby meets his associate, Abdul, revealing that PKR had given him an ultimatum to halt drug trafficking a month earlier. Now, with PKR dead, Bobby plans to fund the IUF with drug money, ousting current financier Manapatil Chandy by offering 3 times his promised amount. With Abdul's help, Bobby brokers a deal with drug lord Fyodor, securing 250 Indian rupees crore per month in exchange for unmonitored drug imports into Kerala once the IUF wins. However, before this can proceed, Bobby must establish a drug production plant. Abdul suggests using the government-sealed timber factory in Nedumpally. Back in Kerala, PKR's last rites are performed. Priya instructs Verma to prevent Stephen from attending. Mayul Vahanam is seen talking to Verma about stopping Stephen. Stephen is seen to the father before he leaves for the funeral. Mayul Vahanam tries to stop his car as the Prime Minister is coming. Stephen walks the rest of the way to the funeral when he arrives despite police efforts. Accompanied by all his supporters, Jathin, expected to perform the final rituals, is missing, reportedly on a camping trip. In the absence of Jathin, Priya does the funeral pyre of her late father. That night, Bobby is confronted by Priya for his absence at the funeral. It is clear that Priya and her daughter are not in talking terms. Bobby secretly gives Janvi drugs as she is an addict and he gets touchy with her. She somehow breaks free and feels helpless and feeble. Bobby attends the gathering of IUF leaders, proposing an early election to capitalize on the public's sympathy. A small argument based on disagreement, and Bobby states Jathin is the next CM candidate promised with triple the funding. Since Chandy, the funder of the party, is allied with Stephen, Verma advises Bobby to negotiate with him as his allegiance is worth having, but Stephen outright refuses to accept drug money. Stephen warns them he will not do it, nor will he let this happen. Stephen hints there is no one to save Bobby. This enrages him. Bobby orders Sanjeev, the chief of NPTV, to launch a smear campaign against Stephen through their IUF-controlled news channel. Sanjeev is compelled to accept as his new channel is running in debt. Sanjeev shows the live stream of Govardhan signaling he has intel on Stephen. A reporter approaches Govardhan for evidence. He tells him he was a techie with a 6-digit salary, wife and daughter. Govardhan lacks concrete proof against Stephen. He exposes Chandy's ties to the Khurshi Abram gang network controlling the global gold-diamond trade. Govardhan later hands over a dossier, X-Files, containing incriminating evidence against Bobby. The reporter is seen submitting the evidence to Sanjeev. Shortly after, IUF activist Murugan captures Govardhan as he reaches a tunnel and confines him to an asylum in a well-furnished room filled with all his belongings to continue his work, I suppose. Abdul asks that he dispatches men to seize the timber factory, to offload chemicals and stuff. Bobby seems uncertain as he was not expecting things too soon. After Stephen names the newborn of an orphan named Aparna from Stephen's destitute home, Muthu, Stephen's loyal alist, signals to Stephen about the timber factory. They head out and Stephen intercepts them. During the confrontation, one of them pulls a gun on him. Unbeknownst to him, as his aide, Alushi, follows Stephen and stalks them. He is shocked by the gunfire. Scene cuts to Alushi shaken from the incident. Apparently he was secretly loyal to Bobby, witnesses the event and informs Varma and Bobby. Stephen killed 6 of the goons and incapacitated the rest in the most heroic way possible. Bobby plans to incriminate Stephen with this information. In response, Mail Vahanam raids the site but finds nothing. Varma reminds Bobby that Priya hates Stephen. Bobby, searching Priya's diary, learns that she harbors resentment toward Stephen due to PKR's favoritism towards him since childhood, which caused tensions in their family. Her mother died the day Jithin was born. Even at her funeral PKR asked for Stephen, without consoling his daughter. 8-year-old Priya adamant not to have food if Stephen stayed in the same home. PKR admitted defeat and took him somewhere else. She hates him because she still believes he is the reason for her death. Aparna is seen leaving the destitute home, only to realize Bobby had bribed her through Alushi, seeking to destroy Stephen by falsely accusing him of contraband smuggling and other illegal activities, with a front of destitute home named Ashrayam. Priya is seen shouting at Janvi for exploiting the credit card given by Bobby. Bobby says he has a gift for Priya and to switch to NPTV. Bobby advises her not to shout at Priya when she is high and grabs her trying to get touchy. She breaks free in tears, feeling helpless and utterly broken. Her televised accusation sparks public outrage. Riots break loose, causing major outlash leading to Stephen's arrest. Police jeeps are seen approaching the destitute home while Stephen gives them warning not to disturb the law and keep the children safe. Stephen is handcuffed and taken away. Rahel, a child in the destitute home, runs to Stephen crying not to leave, only for the corrupt police to throw her to the ground. Enraged, Stephen pins the officer to the wall. Officer slaps him. Stephen looks at Mail Vahanam with a death stare and is taken away. Stephen is taken to prison. In prison, Stephen receives a call from his mercenary and right-hand Zaid Masood. Meanwhile, when Jithin arrives in Kerala, Varma gives him an introduction of what he is going to handle. He talks to Priya, his elder sister. Later on, the team takes care of giving Jithin a makeover and to make him look more like his father, the late political figure. Even gives him fake grey hair. Bobby reassures he will be in the control room taking care of everything. He looks at the tab to see his native language written in English for him to read. He stumbles to make a speech almost like he doesn't know how to speak. The crowd feels weak and Jithin looks helpless. He turns off the tab, smiles and proceeds to bash the image management team that taught him to wear clothes, wear glasses, and to look more like his father. In a bold voice he states, "Do you think the son of PKR would stand before you like this, without knowing how to speak or dress properly?" and captivates the public with his speech. Explaining how he will take the right choices like his father. Everyone is proud to have him as a candidate. Scene later cuts to Zaid's men sabotaging the shipments one by one. He fires a bazooka at one shipment, plants bomb on the next one, and Zaid hijacks a boat carrying the third cargo, knocks all the goons down and detonates the last one. He informs Stephen it's been done and leaves the premise. Abdul wakes up Bobby to inform him that the most powerful mercenary hit group of Asia targeted the consignments and destroyed cargo worth 1,000 crores and demands within 7 days to release Stephen from jail. Abdul reminds him if he doesn't do so things will go out of hand, as will be forced to return the money lost plus interest to Fiator. Abdul runs into enraged Fiator. Varma is met by Bobby asking him to get out of prison. Varma conspires with Rajan to have Stephen assassinated in prison. Varma promises to take care of the expenses for the deed. Stephen is met with inmates in the carpenter room. The warden asks fellow officer to lock the room in the most heroic way possible. He incapacitates the goons. The attempt fails. He walks out, greets the allied warden and walks off as the warden calls for an ambulance. This scenario forces Varma to plead for forgiveness. Pleading innocent, Varma tells him how to handle people like Bobby, based on Varma's father's advice during his childhood. To get rid of someone stronger than us, always use tactics. For example, to take care of his classmate at the time who was a prick to him. While on their walk back home through the tracks, accompany him joking and laughing the way back, enjoying the breeze, as a train comes from afar. A slight push and a shove with an elbow towards the oncoming train has no suspects and the train handles him as well. Stephen reminds him, "Your dad is not my dad." Varma asks who his father is. Stephen asks him to leave. Scene cuts to Alushi talking to Aparna, asking her to confess her allegations against Stephen were false for their own benefits. Aparna asks him to see the child at least once before he leaves, hinting us it's his son. He walks away with a feeble reason. Meanwhile, Janvi overdoses on LSD and is hospitalized. Mail Vahanam is seen at the hospital. Priya questions her how she got it, to which she replies that Bobby gave her the drugs, and Priya learns of Bobby's predatory behavior towards her. Shattered, Priya hugs her in tears. Aparna later confesses on live television that her allegations against Stephen were false. Sanjeev's wife Arundhati asks questions which were avoided. Heartbroken, she argues with Sanjeev to realize they are in debt and this was the only option to get paid. Priya confronts Bobby. He admits it and threatens to expose Janvi's involvement with drug peddlers, warning that he could easily eliminate her and Priya just as he did Jayadevan and PKR. Stephen is set free and is seen with the children. Alushi justifies his actions of assuming the role of Stephen. While he walks away, he asks if the baby is doing fine. Shocked, Alushi replies in a broken voice, "Child is fine." With no other option, Priya turns to Stephen for help, who had vowed to protect them long ago. They meet at the ruins of a church. He talks about his mother who passed away when he was 12. Priya opens up before she leaves. She has one more thing to say. Male Vahanam, exploiting the situation, blackmails Priya for sexual favors in exchange for not filing a case against Janvi. Stephen ensures that he will take care of everything. Before he sets out to everything, he meets the father one last time, talks about his father and leaves. Male Vahanam is seen planning to spend a night with an actress. He gets ready to do it with her but is immediately disturbed. He assures her when he will be back, only to see him on his back, covered in red stuff. Stephen gets in front of him, reminding him he made a grave mistake of messing with Ramdas Sir's family. States, "I'm not the head, I'm the one who chops the head." Stephen is seen inside Sanjeev and Arundhati's apartment. Settles NPTV's debts, granting Priya control of the news network and cutting off Bobby's media influence, and to set up a press conference the next day. Priya tells Jithin to take a look at the files that are kept inside Jithin's car. Priya and Jithin hold a press conference exposing Bobby's drug empire, stating he is an anti-national criminal. On a call with Bobby, Jithin declaring their allegiance to his brother Stephen. Jithin meets with Varma, explains that the files contained his name too. He kept it hidden because he needs him and blackmails him to be a good boy. Jithin warns him not to take his train track push-shove family trick, clarifies don't think too much about Stephen's father, and confirms he is my brother. Attempting to flee, Bobby is captured by Fayadur's men in Mumbai before they can execute him. Zaid's team intervenes, eliminating Fayadur's men, and is taken to Stephen, who connects a call to Priya asking what to do to him. Stephen takes out his revolver. While he tells him Ezekiel 25:17, he loads his gun and executes him. Meanwhile, Murugan is met with Alushi. They meet in a discreet location. Murugan calls someone, gives him the phone to Alushi to talk. It's apparently Stephen. Murugan, thought to be an IUF loyalist, reveals himself as Stephen's spy and kills Alushi. Govardhan is released and brought to the Asraya. He reads a letter written by Stephen. He reunites with his wife and daughter. Jithin is elected as the new CM, marking a shift in Kerala's political landscape. In a post-credits scene, Stephen arrives in a helicopter and meets Zaid in an undisclosed Russian location. A call comes in from smuggler Sanghani, who issues threats. Zaid hands the phone to Stephen, who calmly reveals his true identity, Kurshi Abram. Sanghani is left in shock, exposing Stephen as the mastermind behind a global crime syndicate. With a cold determination, the convoy drive off.